Face to Face with Janaka Ratnayake.
Hello there and welcome to tonight's edition of Face to Face for the Newsfirst team. I am Janaka Ratnayake. Do the right thing even when no one is looking. That is how the famous saying goes. But unfortunately, we reside in a country where those in places of power do not do the right thing even when all eyes are on them. And fraud and corruption has taken our country into an abyss. To regulate all of this, ensure that policymakers are kept in line and the interests of the people are maintained, there are certain entities that have been established. And the watchdog for the major utilities of Sri Lanka, including the power sector, is the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka. And tonight with me, I have a very special guest who was brought into the spotlight, especially in the recent past, over his very strong opinions against the political establishment and certain decisions made by the ministry and the Minister of Power and Energy. Tonight we have with us in our studios Mr. Janaka Ratnayake, former chairman of the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka. A very good evening to you, Mr. Ratnayake, and welcome on the show.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Ratnayake, tell me, you have been relieved of your duties earlier this year. The Parliament voted you out of your chairmanship at the PUCSL. How are you enjoying life these days? How are you viewing the developments in Sri Lanka's power and energy sector that are taking place nowadays?
First, I'll start. You said a nice thing that, the watchdog. Now, watchdog has become a little puppy. The reason is that, during my time at PUCSL, before they put me out from popular votes at the parliament, and this is the first time that a chairman of a commission or a chairman of a government entity was ousted by voting by a resolution in parliament. It's a very pathetic situation, because now see, these commissions, independent commissions, are created to have good and stable policies.
Yes. And
they have not challenged my position as the chairman of Public Utilities Commission, as a commissioner and the chairman of the commission. They have challenged the entire policy makers, independent policy makers in this country.
Yes. They have set a precedent.
Yes. And it is not where the country needs maybe not only one commission of like PCSL, maybe they need around 10 to discipline the country and discipline the politicians to do the right thing.
Yes.
Now see, if you look at the recent developments, now see what has happened at the health ministry.
Yes.
The secretary was taken into custody.
Yes.
Now secretary is the principal accounting officer of a
state institution.
And when they were, now see, I think this is a good lesson as well for the other SLAs officers and the officers in the top level in the government organizations to be mindful and to do the right thing, because if you do not do the right thing, finally what happens is individually they have to pay. They have to get imprisoned, maybe we do not know what is coming for them.
Yes.
And therefore it's good thing that at least something is happening to discipline at least SLS officers, because we are talking about corruption, we are talking about transparency, all those things. Even the IMF, the major concern is that
corruption vulnerabilities in Sri Lanka.
Yes. Now see, from top to bottom in certain entities, you take a place like maybe CMC or maybe another council over there.
Yes.
Now, every place is corrupted. It's not at the top. It's at the ground level. Now say you need to get rid of corruption. Then only we can think about at least some rationale in the development of a country.
Certainly.
So when we need independent commissions and the political hierarchy do not care anything, but they want to get their decisions established through these boards and the commissions and the other organizations, where finally the board members and the people on top will fall into trouble.
Yes.
So therefore the message that we can get it from this is be serious, do the right thing, and do not bend your knees and your spine to these ignorant politicians.
Yes,
we have seen that they have come for last 75 years. Now we are in a bankrupt state.
Yes.
Not because of the fault of the citizens of 21 million, because of this, the politicians who have come from, generation to generation, keeping the power in, particular, the families and, entities, and ruin this country, where, now see, we are talking, big today, because now see how many messages that we get from different parties, we are very proud that we have taken $787 loans from 3 entities.
Yes.
It is something to be scary of, get scared of.
We light firecrackers when the IMF approved our extended fund.
387 million from IMF, 250 million from World Bank, 200 million for ADB. These are not donations. Yes. They are loans. They are commercial loans where the country is in trouble and not paying the loans. They are happy about getting
more loans.
Getting more loans without paying loans.
Yes.
And both are the same. Now see, for the last 1 year we did not pay, and we had around $54 billion.
Yes.
Now if you do not pay the premium and the interest, it will balloon. Now we are looking at around end of this year maybe over 60 billion. Now the loans are getting added, tax are being imposed on people, and I do not know where we head. Without any proper direction. And in order to develop the country, loan will not help you unless you generate revenues.
Yes, certainly. So you've been in the PUCSL for a very long time, and you are privy to the inner workings of the power and energy sector in Sri Lanka. And since August 2022, the cost of electricity paid by the consumer has increased by 250%, Mr.
450%.
450% now.
Yes.
So there was a revision in February, there was another revision recently by 66% first, and then a further 18%. But the PUCSL, and now what the ministry is saying, let me backtrack. The ministry is saying that they have introduced a cost-reflective methodology, but in
who has introduced?
The minister says
it
that
is the law of the country.
I see.
So we can charge only what your cost only you can recover. Utility according to the Act of Electricity Act and the PUCSL Act, you can recover only the cost.
Right.
So you can make profits.
Right. So
if minister says, with the cabinet blessings that they have implemented cost-reflective tariff methodology, is a lie, because that's the governing law of this damn country.
Because this is not something that I am saying. On the 12th of December, meeting was held, headed by the Minister of Power and Energy, and when speaking to those present at the meeting, he says that we introduced this cost-reflective methodology, but isn't that included in the Act itself?
No, it is the Act. It is the law of the country, because in electricity utility tariff, you can charge only what your cost.
Right.
The incurring cost can be charged.
But even then, even if you were to introduce a cost-reflective methodology in February, the PUCSL said a 35% increase would suffice.
Yes.
But when the announcement came out, it had been increased by 66%.
Yes.
So,
what happened
what is the
in February? Our recommendations with the officers of PUCSL to increase the tariff only by 35%.
Okay.
Because according to the assumption of PUCSL, based on the data and the calculations, we said that this year, although people are talking about El Nino and drought and all those things, we were sure about getting more than 4,500 gigawatt hours from hydro generation.
Right.
But CB was adamant to say that they will get only 3,500.
Right.
We did not agree. Based on our assumption, we said 35% is more than enough.
Right.
But what happened is, when I'm out of the country, the politicians got the other members onto their side, and they kept the PUCSL recommendation aside, and they accepted the entire proposal which was given by CEB for 65%. Then they just implemented using the PUCSL puppet members.
So you were kept in the dark.
I was not kept in the dark. I was fighting against it, but
But you weren't aware because you were out of the country.
No, I was aware because I forwarded the recommendations to the board and left.
Right.
So board has to decide. They have to just accept the recommendation of PUCSL.
So there are
instead
3 other members in the board.
3 other members,
including you, or without you.
There were 4.
Okay.
And I was out. Majority will decide.
Okay.
So using that technical fault, and they use these 3 members who are ignorant in tariff revisions, because 2 members were just appointed
Right.
1 day before the tariff revision.
I see.
And they just signed it. And they were forced to come to the presidential secretariat, and they were forced to sign the
agreement revision.
So this is how that government acted to implement this unsolicited or unrealistic tariff hike in February.
Right.
And again, they increased it. Now see, you look at the bottom line of CEB this year.
Right.
They will definitely make 50 billion profits.
50 billion.
50 billion profits net
Right.
of 50 billion. Now, where's the minister's so-called cost reflective tariff? If it is only cost reflective, how the CB can make net of 50?
50.
And mind you, this 50 billion is only a net. And if you look at the operational profits, before bank interest and the depreciation, staggering 150 billion rupees. And who's paying this? Innocent consumers,
Yes.
who will not have even 3 meals to eat a day. Now, utilities costing almost 25% of anyone's income now.
Yes.
So how can people absorb it? It is not possible.
Yes, because everyone needs electricity. Even 1 or 2 bulbs, even the people who use between 0 to 30 units,
Yes.
they need electricity.
Yes, yes. Now see how the situation has escalated. Now you can see this. The disconnection, what they have done for
Right.
this year is over up to October, almost 550,000. And mind you that November only the next revision came. Then with the increased tariff hike, there will be more disconnections.
So power
That
supply to 544,000
1,000 up to October.
up to October.
November, December will exceed more than 700,000 people. And that means 700,000 people are without power. And again, what happens is when they reconnect it, they charge 3,000 bucks.
Yes.
And from this money alone, they have made 2 billion rupees. Whose money is this? Now, when the people are not having money to pay electricity bill, they come and disconnect by force. Now, I heard certain things, during the last 1 week, they don't even give red notices now. There's a procedure that they should,
Yes.
they must follow. They don't follow. They come and, by force, they disconnect it. And reconnection is you have to pay everything. Whatever you could not pay, you have to pay 100% plus 3,000 rupees. Now, this idiotic people should understand when the people are not paying their electricity bill,
Bills.
how can they pay the areas
Yes.
plus another 3,000
Yes.
rupees?
Yes.
Now, this is against all the business norms and the policies and the practices. And they disregard everything and they just disconnect. I heard from some temples also. I think the temple of my village, where I live, Kirilapana
Right.
Purarama, the head priest phoned me and said that their electricity is disconnected. Without even,
This is in Colombo.
This is in Colombo.
Colombo alone.
And this is 100 meters away from the CB office in Kirilapana.
Right.
Now see how ignorant. At least give some, maybe give some verbal notice.
Give a grace period.
This is a business. And this is business where government is making huge money. I think this is the entity that government is making this year than any other government organization. Now, on top of that, making 50 billion rupees profit, this ignorant politicians are talking about restructuring. When the entity is making profits, why the hell that you want to restructure?
Because we speak about restructuring underperforming SOEs,
Underperforming,
but these entities clearly seem to be making billions of profits.
of
But
money.
there are projects of where private investors seem to be coming in northern Sri Lanka, where they're planning on implementing a solar power project, and there are talks of privatization.
Yes.
But help me understand, because you say restructuring state-owned entities that are underperforming is the way to go, but clearly the CEB is making a lot of wealth, a lot of net profit, but there are still talks ongoing of privatization. But why would you privatize an entity, a key entity, that is making profits, Mr.
Not a key entity. It is something to do with our national
security. Yes, certainly.
interest.
Yes.
And this is connected, unlike to any other industries. Now you take petrol, diesel, only the people who have vehicles will use.
Yes.
But electricity is penetration of electricity supply is almost 100%. And everybody from embryo to bedridden need electricity.
Yes.
Because you can't just live without a fan.
Certainly.
So therefore, people should understand the value of this, particular utility. Now, say if you look at water, the supply is limited only to 50% of our population, but electricity is 100%.
Yes.
Therefore, they should know the value of this, and it is not only connected to the domestic users, industries. Now, see how many industries are busted or maybe gone out of business because
especially
of
in the shrinking economy.
Yes, shrinking economy. Huge electric tariff, water bills. Now, how can they survive? Now, in order to run these organizations, in order to run the government, in order to run anything else, we need to make sure that the people will have income. Now, say, how can a bankrupt country can make billions of money or take billions of money from public, the people and the businesses where the country is bankrupt? And officially.
But for all
from a bankrupt nation, how can you make trillions of money out of taxes and utility bills?
But for all the profits that the CEB has made, our power grid is in a very vulnerable state. We saw a couple of weeks ago, Sri Lanka was in the dark for 7 to 8 hours. Yes. Why haven't these systems been updated, Mr. Ratnayake? We have a long-term power generation plan that is supposed to be developed every 2 years?
Every 2 years or 20 years.
For 20 years.
This is the longest plan that any government entity has.
Right.
Now it's a good point that you touched. Now see, we had a blackout on the 9th of December.
Yes.
And similar blackout in 2021 December. Exact location, for the exact reason, the same grid failed.
Yes.
Now see, to avoid that, I issued a special gazette notification on the 9th of 2022.
Okay.
Under my signature, outlining or giving certain directions to follow.
Right.
And when I just heard what subject ministers were talking at the parliament, they were completely unaware of this.
Right.
The recommendations made by PCSL in order to avoid a similar occurrence. But what happened at the same location, because of same reason, we had another 5 hours of power cut. The cost of that 10 billion rupees. Who's going to pay? You think the government or the president and the ministry is going to pay? No, we are going to pay. The people who do not have money to eat to get their 3 meals, the people who are using 30, 60, 90 units, the most vulnerable groups in the country, the categories, they have to pay this 10 billion. Now, see how many? We have given 7 recommendations.
Right.
Same grid. We said that it can be a human error. Improve the protection relays and the systems and the grid, the transmission. Then find a way to manage Norachole in a situation like this. Because what happens is, when the entire grid is failing, the Norachole power plants, which we get almost 1/3 of our supply in certain situations, 900 megawatts. No, the plant just collapses. It breaks basically. Then to repair those and to probably get another one. Luckily, we have hydropower.
Right.
Now, say if you look at the current composition now, the power generation, we do around 85% from renewable energy.
Right.
65% from the major hydros, solar, mini hydros, and wind. 85%. You look at the cost. Cost of generating 1 unit from hydro, the direct cost is less than 3 rupees. You are selling at what price? You are selling at 30-40 rupees. Then, at this moment, if you look at coal, is costing per unit is less than 30. What happens is, when blackout occurs like that, happens like that, you can't use Norachole power plant for 2-3 days.
Right.
You have to use fuel, naphtha or furnace, whatever available. Then you need to run the generators. What is the cost? 100 rupees per unit. Who's going to pay? CEB is paying CPC. Now from 1st of January, you have VAT also imposed on
petroleum products.
That means another 56 rupees per litre. So 1 unit will cost you maybe another 20 rupees more when you generate from the same source. Because out of 1 liter you can generate from a furnace or naphtha or diesel only 4 units. 50 rupees or 6 rupees divided by 4 is 15 rupees. Who's going to pay? Now this VAT they are going to impose on certain products categories from 1st of January will destroy further our economy. And our economy will shrink. And they are looking at maybe now 1 more trillion to collect from the public. You don't give any money or generate any money in the economy. Economy is shrinking. Now say we saw some results of the 3rd quarter of this year. We have around 1.6% growth rate. But if you look at up to first 6 months, we have 5% minus.
Yes.
So we are looking at around 4% minus. We are looking at 70 billion economy coming down to maybe 65. And then it will reach almost the exposure of our foreign debts. And this is a very catastrophic situation where the rulers do not take, at least learn a lesson out of this, what happened during the last 2-3 years. And without generating, without, basically depending on the loans that we are talking about, you can't run this economy. The economy will collapse.
So we spoke about many things, primarily concerning the power and energy sector. So that was Janaka Ratnayake, the policymaker, speaking. But now, with everything that has transpired, will we, at the start of next year or in the coming months, see Janaka Ratnayake, the politician, coming out?
I am not a politician. I don't come even from a political background or family. I am an entrepreneur who had some interest in politics for the last maybe 20 years. But I feel with the current bankrupt situation in the country, country needs a good leader. And people say that we have seen this corrupted, underperforming, ignorant, uneducated politicians ruling the country since 1948 for 75 years. And one party will come into power, they will pledge many things. And you were talking about policies. We have no policies for the last 75 years. You look at the policy of VAT tax.
Yes.
It has been changed 10 times for the last 10 years.
Since 2002.
Yes. Now these ignorant politicians will never revive this economy because they have no knowledge to do this. Now see, I will quote maybe one or two simple things. So our taxes, that excise tax, when you sell liquor, you get almost 80% taxes. Now it has come down almost by 40%. Why? Because people can't afford to buy local liquor, and instead they probably use illicit breweries, which is not good for the health. And since it is not affordable, they buy other things. It doesn't mean that when the price is high they will not consume. They will consume,
but substandard goods, and government will lose revenues, 50-60 billion. Now look at even the cigarettes. I saw article like yesterday. Their income has come down, tax income from cigarettes by 79 billion. Now the lost revenue because of bad and wrong policies, the other innocent people have to pay all those things because they have no policies. And the reason is that these politicians do not understand economics, accountancy, and certain rulers do not have even common sense. I challenge them to take 1,000 rupees and go and buy something from the market. They are unable to do that because they are not. They have no. They are detached.
They are detached from the normal life. No common sense. Since they lack common sense, they cannot take a decision.
Unable to feel the people's pulse.
Now you are talking about restructuring of CB, where the CB is making 150 billion operational profit. Which fool wants to privatize this? For what?
So do you believe you understand what the people want, what Sri Lanka requires?
I have become a successful businessman. I know how to borrow, I know how to prepay, and I know how to make revenues. Now see, what we need is a revenue generating economy. Now these politicians, so-called politicians from ruling parties to other parties, do they have a policy framework where how can the economy make money? They do not know this. They will talk about many manifests. We have seen for last 30-40 years how many manifestos and nice words. Talk about many things. But end of the day, what happened after 25 years? Entire country is suffering. Population is half of the population without even proper meals. Now what we need to do is we need to make revenues, then we need to find a way to at least feed these people. Now see, starving population, can be part of a developing country? You can't. Now we are not even developing, we are bankrupt. Now see, if you do not have proper meals, the people who are not having proper meals, can they be part of active economics activities? No. So first you need to feed people, find a way, then generate revenues, then you come out, with a sustainable repayment of your loans. Empower people, entrust people. Who you develop them. I think people now understand, unlike before, we have come to a stage where any common person should understand that unless you get a proper leader, if you get another person out of the same lot, sooner or later you get into more troubles. So therefore,
they need an alternative.
A non-politician who has shown some straight,
he has come forward with straightforward policies,
and who can probably shown the people and work, given certain
to walk the talk.
So that is a must. So therefore I feel that in the future, when people decide, they will, unlike before, will not go behind these ignorant politicians, and instead they'll find a good man, a proven man to run this economy, because now, unlike any other time in our history, we need to make sure that we come out from this economic problem, and my program is based on paradigm shift.
Right.
Paradigm shift is, I think people know about, paradigm shift is that you do different things to get a better result.
Yes.
Because we are talking about system change, we are talking about the policy changes, those don't work. Now we need to have, instead of one PUC, we need to have maybe 10, 15 entities where the policies will govern, not the ignorant politicians who come and go.
Right.
So we have a plan. People, unlike before, understand what is needed for us, because there's no further that we can go down unless we bounce back.
So very quickly, before we wrap up, I must ask you, you say that you have a plan, you have a vision and so on, but when will the people get to know this plan, Mr. Ratnayake?
I have started it, and in time to come now, what I do is I talk to many social activities and groups and many people, because we need to make sure that I have the right people with me, because not the people who are corrupted and who are into politics. We need new blood, new people,
a fresh set of faces,
people, because without a proper plan, a proper people, we can't move forward. We perish further.
And that's the way it was on Face to Face for tonight. Janaka Ratnayake, former chairman of the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, embarking on a new journey. Thank you very much for joining me this evening.
Thank you very much for having me.
He has advocated for a paradigm shift, and let's hope in 2024 Sri Lanka reaches that paradigm shift that we have so long yearned for. Thank you and good night.